Today's topic will be circles. In your notes, please draw a circle like I have here. Once you have that circle drawn, I would like you to put a point at the center of the circle. We'll call this circle C. Notice the center of my circle has a point. You can put any letter there you want. I just chose C. Once you have that, let's draw a line that goes from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. From the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. That's going to be your radius. Now, your radius could look like that. It could look something like this. It could look something like this. Anything that goes from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle, that's called a radius. And what you need to know is all those radii I just drew, they're all equal, because the definition of a circle is any line from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle, they are all equal distance from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. That is the definition of a circle. And these are all radii. So if you would label this, or one of these, whichever one you have on your paper there, label it radius. Alright, radius. Okay, and then once you have that, I would like you to draw a diameter. Now, wait for me to draw it first. Traveling from the edge of the circle through the center of the circle to the other edge of the circle, that is what we will call a diameter. That is what we will call a diameter. And I just didn't want you to draw it on top of your radius line is the only thing. That's why I asked for you to wait on me. Okay, so what you'll notice is the radius goes from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. The diameter goes from one edge to the other, passing through the center of the circle. Now, there's an infinite number of diameters I could draw. There's an infinite number of radii I could draw. But what you need to know is this. The diameter is equal to twice the radius, or 2 multiplied by the radius is equal to the diameter. So for example, if I told you the diameter was equal to 8, what is the radius equal to? Think for a second. The radius is half of that. The radius is going to be 4. What if I told you the radius was equal to 7? What is the diameter equal to? The diameter is equal to 14. Now, let's talk for a moment about units of measure. The radius is a distance. The diameter is a distance. So think about a few distance measurements. It could be meters. It could be inches. It could be feet. It could be centimeters. Any of these are units that would be used to measure the radius and the diameter. So let's just say the diameter here is 8 centimeters. That would make this radius 4 centimeters. Let's make this radius 7, I'll get creative here, 7 miles. The diameter is 14 miles. I guess it's not too creative, but you get the idea. Okay, so that's radius and diameter. And anytime I write something up here on the Promethean, I would like you to write it in your notes. That's just a good rule of thumb. I try not to write too much up on the Promethean, keeping in mind that you're going to be putting it into your notes. So any of the stuff I put up here is important and necessary. Okay, the main thing you need to know about the diameter and the radius: the diameter is twice the radius is half the diameter. And the unit of measurements, anything that measures distance, meters, inches, centimeters, feet, miles, any of these things, any of these units, excuse me. Let's talk about circumference next. Circumference, please draw a circle in your notes. Write circumference above the circle. Circumference is the distance around the circle. It's the distance around the circle. So get that down. So if you were to take a string and start it, let's say right there, and pull that string all the way around the circle back to where you started, and then measure the length of that string, that would be the circumference as well. So there is a formula for the circumference we use. Circumference is equal to pi multiplied by diameter. Pi multiplied by diameter. And we'll talk about more about the specifics of pi later. But right now, circumference equals pi times diameter. Or you could say circumference equals, how is the diameter related to the radius? The diameter is twice the radius, so 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by the radius. 2 multiplied by the radius is the diameter. I'm going to say that again because it's important. 2 multiplied by the radius is the diameter. So these are both the same thing. Okay, that's important to know. So let's say I give you first off, let's draw the center of our circle. I'll call the center of our circle M. And I'll give you a diameter. And let's say the diameter is 10 meters. The diameter is 10 meters. Please take a moment and find the circumference of that circle. We're going to use the formula circumference equals pi multiplied by the diameter. And again, we know the diameter is 10 meters. So I just plug this right into my formula. Circumference equals 10 multiplied by pi. And what is our units? Our units are meters. 10 pi meters. So let's talk about units here for a moment. The units, just like the radius and the diameter, the units could be anything that measures distance. That's meters, inches, feet, centimeters, miles, millimeters. All of these are examples of the units that we can use to measure the circumference. And the reason I'm telling you this is it's going to change up here in just a moment when we talk about area. Okay. So let's move on now and talk about area. Area of a circle. The area of a circle so the area represents how much space something takes up. How much space, and I should say a two-dimensional object takes up. So if you think about your house and how big your house is, if you ever heard your parents talk about the square footage of your house, all right, the square footage of your house, that's the area or the amount of floor space in your house. So with this circle here, I'm going to kind of highlight the area of the circle with my pen. It's this space that the circle takes up. And if I was going to take the time, I would actually color in the entire circle. So everything inside the circle is the area of the circle. And there is a definition for the area. Area of a circle is area is equal to pi. Ooh, that's an ugly pi. Let me draw a better pi than that. Area is equal to pi multiplied by the radius squared, or radius to the power of 2. So if I were to tell you that the center of your circle is, we'll call it B, and if I were to give you the radius of your circle, and the radius is, let's call it 4 inches. The radius of my circle is 4 inches, so let's write down radius equals 4 inches. Can you find the area of that circle? I'll pause and let you do that now. Area is equal to pi multiplied by the radius, which is 4, and it's 4 inches, right? So you don't have to write it like this. I'm going to write it like this the first time, just so you understand why it is inches squared, but area is equal to, what's 4 times 4? 16. What is inches times inches? Inches squared, so 16 pi inches squared. I'm not going to write the inches here in parentheses and square them every time. I just did it the first time so you understand why it is units squared. So the area of that circle is 16 pi inches squared. So that brings me to what the units of area of a circle would be. It would be, well, we just did inches squared. It might be meters squared. It might be feet squared. If you think about how large a city is, cities are usually measured in square miles or miles squared. So you notice it's always units squared. Area is units to the power of 2. Circumference is units to the power of 1. Radius and diameter are units to the power of 1. So if you just realize every measurement we have here is going to be units to the power of 1, except for the area. Area is units squared because we have to square that radius. So the radius is 4 inches. 4 times 4 in this case, 16 inches times inches. Inches squared. Area is 16 inches squared. And if you think about your house is, I don't know, 2,000 square feet or whatever. It's in feet squared. That brings us to a couple of examples here. Notice up top here we've got our circumference formula. Circumference is equal to pi multiplied by the diameter, which is the same thing as circumference equals 2 times pi multiplied by your radius. Remember, 2 times the radius is the diameter. The diameter divided by 2 is the radius. So these are the same thing. The area of a circle, area is equal to, and you'll see that right here, pi r squared. Pi multiplied by radius squared. Notice with our circle here we have a radius. The radius is the distance from the center of the circle to the edge of the circle. The diameter travels from one edge of the circle to the other, passing through the center. So example 1 here. We're going to find some measurements of this circle here. We're told to find each measurement. The area of, this means, what do you think? Circle P. Why is it called circle P? Take a guess. Why is it called circle P? The center of our circle is point P. The area of circle P in terms of pi. So we want to find the area of this circle in terms of pi. What are we given? 16 centimeters represents what, you think? It represents the diameter. The diameter is 16 centimeters. It's always important to write down what you're given. Also, what are we trying to find? We're trying to find the area. Let's write down the area formula. That's right up here. Area is pi r squared. Write that down. Area equals pi multiplied by radius squared. And I didn't tell you to draw this circle, but please do draw this circle in your notes. I will pause and let you do that. Draw a circle P here, labeling the diameter 16 centimeters. Okay. Now, we're told the diameter is 16 centimeters. We know the area formula is area equals pi r squared. We're trying to find the area. We need the what to find the area? We need the radius. Do we have the radius? No, we have the diameter. Let's look up here at this picture. How are the diameter and the radius related? The diameter is twice the radius, or the radius is half the diameter. So the radius is equal to what? 8. What units are we using? 8 centimeters. So let's plug this into our formula here. Area is equal to pi multiplied by the radius, which is 8, to the power of 2. And what is 8 to the power of 2, or 8 squared? It is 64. So area equals 64 pi. What are our units of measurement going to be here? Remember, area is always measured in units squared. So it's going to be area equals 64 pi centimeters squared. There we go. We have found the area of that circle. Let's take a look at another example. Again, we want to find each measurement. We want to find the radius. We want to find the radius of circle X. Do we see circle X over here? I don't. So let's all take time now and draw circle X. Take a moment and draw circle X. Should look something like that. And we're trying to find the radius of circle X. What information are we given? We're given the circumference is equal to 24 times pi. 24 multiplied by pi. Let's write out our two circumference formulas. One formula is circumference equals pi times the diameter. The other one is circumference equals 2 pi r. Which one of these, pi times diameter or 2 pi r, which one of these closely resembles 24 times pi? Well, we've got pi by itself, and then there's one number. Down here I see pi by itself and one variable. So to me, it looks most like this one. Okay? These two closely resemble each other. So what do you think the diameter is? The diameter is 24. 24 what? 24 feet, miles, what? It's going to be inches. The diameter is 24 inches. Again, circumference equals pi times diameter. We're told the circumference equals 24 times pi. The diameter is equal to 24. Okay. Once we have the diameter, our goal is to find the what? The radius. Well, the radius is going to be half the diameter. The radius is 12 inches. There we go. Alright, one last example. We want to find this time the circumference. Well, let's write the circumference formulas. Circumference equals pi multiplied by the diameter, or circumference equals 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by the radius. So to find the circumference, you need either the diameter, so we'll say diameter equals question mark, or we need the what? The radius. Radius equals question mark. Either of these will do, either the diameter or the radius. If we have one or the other, we can find the circumference. What are we given? Well, we're told that circle S, do you see circle S over here? I don't. Let's draw circle S now. Something like that. We're told that with circle S, the area is equal to, 9 multiplied by x to the power of 2 pi centimeters squared. We're told the area of this circle here is 9x squared multiplied by pi centimeters to the power of 2. Let's write down our area formula right below that. Area is equal to what? Think about it. Try to have it memorized by now. Pi multiplied by radius squared. Area equals pi r squared. I notice that I've got pi by itself there. I notice I've got pi by itself here. Looking at the area formula, pi is by itself, and then we've got radius squared next to it. Up here we got pi, and then the rest of this junk, 9x squared. What do you think the radius squared is equal to? Radius squared is going to be everything that is not pi. 9x to the power of 2. The radius squared is equal to 9 multiplied by x to the power of 2. Again, if we're trying to find the circumference, we need either the diameter or the radius. We've got the radius to the power of 2. What we want is radius to the power of 1. So how do we go from radius squared to radius to the power of 1? We have to take the square root of the left and right side of this equation. What you do to one side of the equation, you have to do to both. You can't just pick and choose what you want to do and adjust the left side of the equation but not the right side. What you do to one side, you have to do to both. The square root of radius squared is just radius, or radius to the power of 1. What's the square root of 9 equal to? 3. What is the square root of x squared equal to? X. So the radius is equal to 3x. Now that we have the radius, can we find the circumference? Radius is equal to 3x. We found our radius, but we want to find our circumference. That's what we were told to find, the circumference. Are we going to use circumference equals pi times diameter or circumference equals 2 pi r? Take a moment and think about which one of these will make your life easier and involve fewer steps. I'm going to choose this one down here because we have the radius. I can find the diameter pretty easily, but it's just an extra step I don't need to take at this point in time. Circumference is equal to 2 multiplied by pi multiplied by the radius, which is 3x. What is 2 times 3? 2 times 3 is 6. I'm going to bring this x over here. 6 multiplied by x multiplied by pi. And what are my units going to be? With circumference, is it units squared or units to the power of 1? With circumference, is it units squared or units to the power of 1? Our area was centimeters squared, so the circumference is going to be just centimeters. The circumference of this circle, circle S, is 6x pi centimeters. So if I told you x was equal to 3, the circumference is going to be 6 times 3, which is 18. The circumference would be 18 pi centimeters. Okay. In case you're wondering, this is example 1 from page 355, and it actually started on page 354. Part A was on page 354. Part B was on 355, and Part C was on 355. Right now in the book, page 357, I want you to do numbers 2 through 4 and 10 through 12. Page 357, numbers 2 through 4 and 10 through 12. I'm going to flip back to this momentarily, but here's the digital copy of the book. Notice on 2, 3, and 4, it says see example 1. What I just worked for you was example 1 on page 354 and 355. So obviously you can look back at your notes, but if you're ever by yourself, you can look back in the book at that example. Also down here at the practice and problem solving, 10, 11, and 12, off here to the left it says independent practice for exercises 10 through 12, see example 1. So if you're ever working with the book, look off in the margins here, see example 1 there. For exercises 10 through 12, see example 1. That can also help you when you're on your own and working problems and you need some assistance. Okay, complete that now.